You can leave your videos on if you like, but I'll probably ask you to mute outside of the ones that will be presenting. But if you do have a question, just unmute and we'll get you in it. It's a pretty informal discussion today. But thanks everyone for attending GICTV episode number 7. I think Jeff, back in May, you were up in the snowfields or something. At least your virtual background was showing you're dreaming of snow. Are you still thinking of that?
Still being somewhere else.
That was episode 1, and that's the Zoom world we live in, and the new COVID, I guess, is doing Zoom meetings. I appreciate it trying to get everybody on a certain time of the day with daylight savings, time differences, and all that can be difficult. But we'll have a recording and a video and podcast and such, and a blog coming out of this over the coming week to share some of the information from today. But I guess looking back at May, Jeff, and fast forwarding now with all the things that have happened with COVID-19, and Victoria is just coming out of a lockdown, very very strict lockdown, and still a ways to go. Hopefully before Christmas you'll get back to somewhat normal. Your recent report, I guess, as a follow-up from the earlier one, is where the center of this discussion would be. And some of our states, like here in Queensland and New South Wales, is going full steam ahead. We wouldn't know the difference up here, to be honest, and rounds are way up. A lot of the member rounds, especially the competition rounds, as you pointed out in your report. So Jeff, I guess what's the next stages here? We're sort of in that over the hurdle, do you think? And now the new normal come in, and I guess how are clubs going to be reacting to it? Today we'll have Kurt Stegmeyer from Brighton Lakes down in New South Wales, and Tony Wiebeck from what would you call it? Golf Writer at Large, I think your moniker says.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Gun for hire.
The man.
But, you'd be familiar with Tony's writings from Australian Golf Digest and the PGA's Professional Magazine and other places. But thanks, Tony, and thanks, Kurt, for joining in today. Very relaxed environment. What we do. Anyway, that is watching, please send through a question through the chat box, or just raise your hand, just sort of unmute, and we'll get going. But over to you, Jeff. What's next? Where are we going?
Thanks, Mike. Episode 7. Looking back to 1 we were both kind of learning on the way, and really kind of had no idea what was coming. Post April, when the the bottom fell out of the world, who knew really what was going to happen? And golf's been the beneficiary of this global adjustment to lifestyle. Not only a lack of other competitive sports in our way, but also increased relaxation in the working environment, less structure Monday to Friday. It's kind of was the perfect product for the whole the world found itself suddenly in. So we've kind of been caught on the hop a little bit with regard to what's happened since, and it's quite remarkable. I mean, anecdotally, we know, a facility by a facility have been reporting, significant increase in numbers. I've reported on the Golf Australia data with their blessing, and in partnership with them to help get more information into the public domain, so we can all have these discussions and all know what the facts are, and then importantly act on them. It's whilst the numbers are the numbers, and we try to make them as exact as possible. It's not about exact. It's about, this conversation is about, well, what comes next, and what do we do about it? We know there's a wave. The wave's big. It's got slightly different sizes in different states and different cohorts, but it's big. And no one saw this coming, and we know the pain the industry has felt for the last 21 years or 20 years, when membership numbers continue to decline, by about 1.5% per year, year over year. To be given this opportunity again to almost reset, refocus, represent to the market, resell ourselves as a sport, as a leisure activity, as something that that more people can enjoy. These opportunities, I mean, you can't buy this opportunity. It's been quite remarkable. So the reason for getting everyone together today and having put out some recent thoughts or musings about what comes next, it really is, we've been served up this demand. Is it going to be a once-off hit in 2020 and 2021 reverts back to normal in terms of back to where we were, or do we actually make this stick and benefit from it long term? Because we all know that golf is about numbers. It's about volume. It's about efficiencies. It's about scale. If you can, with a relatively fixed cost base to deliver, if you can get that incremental demand and benefit from it, a lot of it will fall straight to the bottom. Falling straight to the bottom creates profit. Profit creates investment in facilities. Investment in facilities enhances the member value proposition, enhances the attraction and the appeal of the facility to new people. The world just starts to spin in your favor in terms of that cycle. It becomes a positive cycle as opposed to decreased profit, decreased investment, decreased value. And you only keep those who are really, really committed. You don't keep the fringe people who aren't getting the value. So, this demand has material value because it's going to provide, I believe, the opportunity for some clubs to do things they didn't ever think they'd be able to afford to do through profitability. And if they could grow their numbers 3, 4, 5% year on year for the next couple of years, that'll all fall out the bottom and enable them to further reinvest. And that helps them reset their offer, resets their value, and I strongly believe helps them put a new message to the community in terms of who they are, what they are. Get rid of this private club feel. This is for white men only. It's about gives us a chance to sell a message to the community about golf's value and how we can be a key part of the community.
Right. Thanks, Jeff. And Kurt, if you could just give us a quick overview of your facility, I guess what style,
yeah, sure.
and what types of players and some of the things that you're seeing and doing, I guess, to
Yep. So firstly, thanks for the opportunity to join the team, guys. So I've actually been here for 13 months at Brighton Lakes. So Brighton Lakes itself's just gone through a major redevelopment where they sold a portion of their land and redeveloped 7 holes here. So I guess I've been here for 13 months, and when I first started here, we were in a drought, and then we had a flood, and now we've had COVID. So it sort of has been very interesting times. And so the club itself has been slowly being rebuilt because we had a lot of members leave because of the club going through the redevelopment. But yeah, look, the numbers here have been really strong. I've got some data from last year, and I just did some comparisons there. So we're up rounds per month. We're up around 42%, which wow. which is fantastic. So as we have seen with a lot of the other places, we're seeing a lot of players. I will say the period there where we had to go to 2 players, I felt like I was a duck pedaling pretty hard, but wasn't going anywhere because we just sending them out 2 by 2s. We were busy, but we weren't making as good an income. But now, being back to 4, where we're doing really well. But look, I'm of the belief that a lot of places are sort of thinking that this is the new norm, but I don't see it that way. I think there's a lot of places that are resting on their laurels, but we need to keep on doing whatever we can to engage with the new market. So we're capturing data of all the new players. We actually reset our membership, so we actually only did a 6-month membership here. July through to December, because we didn't want to be trying to be seen as doing a spike on the membership fees. And now we're going to be offering a January to September membership, which is actually sort of compressing the price there a little bit. And so there was a point there a couple of months ago where we actually had to close our membership books, which is a great position for the club to be in. So I guess we're resetting our membership model. But my team here, we're just doing everything we can to engage with the new customers. As I said, gathering their data, offering promotions in the shop, and making sure that they see Brighton Lakes as their new home of golf. So yeah, it's been exciting times.
Kurt, is your place the more traditional model with membership and a board and that type of structure?
Correct. Yep.
Much external play normally, social play, corporate days, those types of things during normal times.
Yeah, so we have so one thing what I did was we introduced a new competition on a Tuesday. So our competition days are Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then social players outside and around of that. But the board that I'm working with, they've given me a free rein here on managing the golf, so that if there is competition times not being used, we're allowed to put social players in them to maximise the income for the club. So it is the traditional model, and yeah, look, there's pros and cons in all things, but we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, great. Over to you, Tony. I was really interested to hear your perspective, because you're across, I guess across so many different areas of the country when it comes to different types of golf courses and facilities. And what are you seeing out there, and what's some of the feedback you're getting from clubs and facilities?
Yeah, well, I want to sort of, I guess, carry on from what Kurt was saying, having spoken to Kurt a little while ago, because what the message I kept hearing from a lot of clubs was we had to go members only. We went members only. And of course, Jeff will, speak to this, but more members playing more golf and not paying any extra money is actually a detriment to the facility. So what I asked Kurt, and I said, pardon me, were you able to maintain that public play? And he said, we would have been dead in the water without it. So that's a theme that I think I'm a little bit concerned that there are some clubs that perhaps by necessity, perhaps by instruction, by management, whatever it was, eliminated public play so they could facilitate the membership and that increased demand that was coming there. And if you haven't connected, what Kurt and Brighton Lakes have been able to do is connect with people looking for a game. I live on the Gold Coast, and Palmer Colonial is dead 6 days out of 7. And there was a Friday we had a public holiday, and I think everyone got caught out, and it was packed because it was the only place that wasn't already fully booked out. So I hope that clubs are considering how they facilitate public play, because there are people looking for a game that can't get, can't get it at a lot of places. So that's, that so many clubs had to close off the public play, I think is a concern when demand was through the roof. It was Kurt can speak to that. I guess whether there was a discussion about that at all, whether they considered going members only, or whether it was never on the table, because I think that's the balance that a lot of clubs need to get right in order to take advantage of the wave that Jeff's speaking about.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, Mike. I wrote about that, Tony, in the newsletter. In that, the Australian model is this mix of member, non-member play. Some are equally mixed. Some of the clubs are at 95.5 in terms of 5% non-member. So everyone fits within. There's an element of a green fee in everyone's P&L. Suddenly, when you've got restricted supply, being golf tee times, you've got that member value or the access bit you're trying to offer, but then also you're trying to manage a P&L. You got a member who thinks they've got the right, which they do, but the business has a need for this revenue from each other stream, which the revenue is needed because there isn't sufficient member demand at the price required to make the whole P&L members only. So, and I know Dave Allen from Wyong's on the call, and I know that now that's a club where you've got this balancing act between members and non-members, where you're trying to take everyone's money, or you need everyone's money to make the whole business make sense. But coming out of these restrictions, you've had to prioritise to those who have committed. But going forward, the point, Tony, you're making is we're still got to be able to accommodate both markets in order for this demand to be fully optimized. Rarely has supply ever been in as short supply as it is now. You know, caused by initially, you know, reduction in tea time group sizes, expanding out now in other states, still 2 balls at in Victoria. But that's that balancing act between who are you talking to, who do you want to be, who can you be, what are the financial requirements of the business?
Because the point then to that is that if you are members only, you have to charge the members more.
Yeah.
In order to make the business work. So, and that's a difficult decision to come to, or I'm very unpopular, but I think, you know, we've spoken before, and you make the point that, you know, less members paying more is good for business. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yes, I do. It all comes down to who you are and who you can be within the market that you're in. It's eyes wide open. Who are we competing against? How much demand is in the market? What product can we create that the market wants at sufficient demand for the whole business to make sense? So now more than ever, we need, you know, great data to help us support our decision making, and this is something that Golf Australia really now understands, in that if they can keep putting good information into the public domain, it'll help inform the board discussion. It'll help inform the subcommittee discussion about, well, what's happening outside our gates, because we don't want to be making decisions in a vacuum or in an information vacuum. We want to be informed not only of what's happening at our facility, but also what's happening outside the gates. The challenge we now have, and I think, Kurt, you can probably speak to this, is you're serving very different markets. You're serving guys who are playing football between the ages of 20 and 40. You're serving you know, slightly older new women, perhaps. You're serving younger people. You've got now these different sub-segments need individual tailoring around how you offer your product. So you need to understand the trends that are happening in those markets. So it's not just, well, what's happening within rounds? Well, what's happening within rounds between males X to Y? What's happening in juniors X to Y? What's happening in each segment of my business? Interesting, we talked about, or Kurt mentioned, days of the week growth. The data from GA indicates that the day of the week where there has been most growth is Fridays. Fridays followed by Thursdays, followed by Mondays. So moving away from the peak days, because the peak days are the peak for a reason. There's not that much excess capacity already. So we've had this lumpy delivery of events throughout a week. We have these peak days, Wednesdays, Saturdays, ladies on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, some days nothing. I think the perfect golf club is probably 150, 160 rounds a day, 7 days a week. If we can break some habits, move people around, optimize the tee sheet, we will actually be able to grow our membership base. At the moment, we are limited by the peaks of the week, because you can't take more people in who can't then get a game, unless that's part of your value proposition, and they know they'll be queuing up for tea time based on the fee that they're paying.
Yeah, Kurt, your thoughts on that one, on those points?
Yeah, look, I'd certainly, I couldn't agree more with all the things you're saying there.
Kurt, I'm having trouble hearing your volume's not. Sorry.
Can you hear me, guys?
It's still a bit low.
I haven't done anything different. Any better there? Can you hear me?
Just.
But anyway, I'll just pipe in on a couple points. You know, coming from the commercial background with the resorts, the one that Tony was mentioning, they should be benefiting now, because if these other more private or member focused facilities are getting busy, you know, people are looking at other places to play. I think with the Palmer courses and Lakelands and some of those that got rid of their membership in recent years, and then trying to bring it back, I think they're probably suffered the most, but now should be benefiting if they can't get on somewhere else. But how do we retain them? How do we keep them coming back? Is the whole another question.
Pick up on. Oh, sorry, Kurt, you go.
No volume at
It's
all.
always tech issues with Zoom. You know what it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, one to Jeff's point about spreading the demand. I know Nudgee, Darren Richards, they introduced like a 9-hole Monday morning competition. I think teeing off at 6 a.m. and it proved so popular that that's something they're going to continue with. Last I spoke to him, moving forward. So, yeah, I hope that opportunities have kind of shown themselves to clubs during this period, and that they can adapt, the offerings of competition play, or whether it's timing or the number of holes people play. I think that's an important element here in a way of structuring. We've had this traditional model, 7-day, 6-day, whatever it is, associates. We need to kind of, if we can strip those back and tailor membership packages to the lifestyles of the people who are showing interest in joining, then we will be able to expand the membership and put them on days that suit them and suit the club. So just to Jeff's point again, it's spreading that demand. So we're not turning people away on Saturday and empty courses on a Tuesday.
It's interesting, Tony, you make the point about 9-hole rounds. I looked at some 9-hole data this morning. This will be included in an upcoming GA report around membership growth. We've talked about rounds growth to date. The next report now about new member demand. On the round side, 9-hole rounds this year for the period through to September up by 28% for males. So there is, whilst there's been this historical reluctance to be, well, it's 18 holes or nothing. The handicap system now allows for 9-hole cards to be submitted. There is clearly demand. It's a demand that's going to grow slowly over time. It's not going to be booming out of the gate, but it becomes, to my view, part of the offer going forward. It's helping you, the golf club, are offering something that better fits into somebody's day. And into their lifestyle. It might work better for them than historically, particularly with increasing work from home and perhaps increased work flexibility. It's going to be fascinating to watch all that play out and see what habits can be broken, and see what patterns what new patterns will be adopted. And those who get that right, get that balance right, will better optimize the supply they've got, which is 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. That's what they've got to sell. How do we get the most from it whilst we deliver on the value proposition that we're trying to offer through either the green fee pricing or the membership price? But to my view, the flatter the demand across the week, the better. It'll be more predictable, and days of the week, hopefully don't matter as much as they used to. That would benefit everybody, particularly given the capacity issues we've historically had in metropolitan markets on a Saturday, particularly.
Right. Well, Jeff, how are you going on that, Kurt? We'll try to see if we can hear your volume. No. I don't see anything muted on this side.
I'm imagining Kurt saying a lot of swear words right now.
But maybe push in your microphone. Oh, I think it's going to reload up. The question from Daniel Beta. Would public golf at less favorable tee times be a solution with the member mix? It's just really focusing in on that afternoon time or times. I guess that's what we try to do, is try to promote those areas that the members aren't taking up, but the members are taking up more than usual. So in some cases we've got so many members we can't even get them on certain days. And
that's the balance that Jeff points to. And even I've looked to try and get on Emerald Lakes a few times. Like lately when you're looking for a game and it says first available tee time 2:48. Well, that's a bit late. So again, back again to Jeff, if you know who you are you know, and to Kurt's point, you know, earlier, like they book in social play. They don't fit it in. They allow for it. They allocate times for it. And if you can communicate that with your social media or however you reach people, then that you can build a client base that comes on those days. Yeah, the key is I think, to me, the greatest area of opportunity is bringing people into the club on membership structure that suits them, and changing how they view value. You know, I guess in Australia, we kind of value is the cheaper the better. It's the little things, I think, you know, the 1%ers that Kurt's mentioned that add value to a membership. You know, I love, you know, I used to be a member at Shelley Beach on the Central Coast. Their Facebook page is wonderful. They often feature little profiles of members with really nice photography, little simple things. I'm sure every club has a photographer or an amateur photographer in-house. It's tapping into those people and connecting the members in a different way that makes them value their club more. That $150 raise on their membership may go unnoticed. So I think we need to kind of reimagine how we view value and how we present that as value. And so we're not scared to charge what we need to make the business work.
Some of the more simple things that have happened out of all this, of, you know, I always understand there's been a difficulty at the coalface to often collect contact details. The phone rings, you book a tea time, what's your name, email address. Yeah, when you're busy, you'll get the name, that's it. But now, you know, COVID's almost forced. I need your name, I need a contact detail, because I need to be able to contact you if something goes wrong. So great, we're building our database. Now we legally have to build a database. Not we don't want to, we have to. So that's first point number one. And then in the club environment where less cash is used and it's more credit or house account, then we get to better understand the whole member profile. So we get to understand what the club's value is to them by their entire spend, inclusive of the clubhouse. So it's some of those small things, particularly the database building. I read a book once which said, he with the biggest database wins. And I think that's still very true to this day, because if you've got a good contact list of those who have enjoyed your facility and you use it well and you continue to build on it, whichever way suits your facility, with whatever offer you want to make, that is so powerful. I'd be interested to know from Kurt, if we can hear him,
Yep,
what he's doing about building his database.
Yeah, Kurt, you're just unmute this time. I think we might got you. He dropped out a couple of times, but just unmute. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Talk loudly.
Loudly.
Okay.
Talk loudly.
Yeah, so look, we're using the promotions that are in place with Coca-Cola and also Titleist to capture data of all new players there, to ensure that we have a stronger database to feed out to. So are you hearing me okay there? All good? Yeah, so I guess, look, we've had these opportunities come to this club to, you know, join the Crazy Golf Deals team and what have you. But we haven't joined up, and I'm glad that we didn't join up, because basically the way I see the Crazy Golf Deal teams is that they have a big database. Now, every golf professional like myself can increase their database if we just offer some incentives for them to join our database, so that you know, we can then market to those players. But then part of marketing to the players is doing things differently. So for instance, we just had the first round of the club championships just a couple of weeks ago, and I stood down on the first tee and gave every member a brand new golf ball of their choice, or gave them the opportunity to try a brand new golf ball. I collected that data because I was really interested to see what golf ball they were using, but I actually, you know, hosted them onto the tee like it was a British Open, you know, next on the first tee, please. And the members loved that experience. You know, they came up to me and said, Kurt, we've never had anything like this. So I did that because I wanted to raise the bar with the club championships, but I want to raise every aspect of play here at Brighton Lakes. And, you know, even one just talking to the green staff here about, you know, giving them some customer service skills so that they can greet customers out on the golf course, you know, rather than just cutting the grass with their focus on the grass, you know, just saying hello if they see a good shot, recognizing a good shot. We've just got to do everything we can to engage with not only the current audience that we have, but future audiences, however we can.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. I've got a question from Sean. COVID has proven the popularity of golf is not the issue. Is it proof the products we offer are not competitive or accessible enough to the normal time-poor lifestyle?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that, you know, again, on the Gold Coast, Top Golf's proven popular. People aren't anti-golf; they're just anti the way we've presented it. And this has probably forced us to do things differently, more quickly than we might have otherwise. But to Jeff's point earlier, it's an opportunity. We've got to keep going. And Kurt as well, you know, saying let's not be thankful for what's happened. Let's take what's happened and run with it.
Yeah, whilst we talk about, you know, this rounds boom, we can't forget year to date at April, we were down 16%. So if I include Victoria in the national numbers now, we are back to just +7 for the year. So all up, you know, some will still be playing catch up on what they missed out on earlier in the year, particularly those clubs in parts of the country which were affected by the bushfire. So there'll be some still underwater despite the boom. I mean, Victoria's underwater because they've been closed. But you know, the volume in the last few months has shown that there is interest in the sport. It's how we deliver it. And as Tony just rightly pointed out, we've had to adapt quickly and make change more quickly than possibly would have ever been possible under, you know, normal trading environments. Decisions have been made without fear or favour because they've been forced upon us, and you know, that's probably a good thing, because, you know, one of our challenges is the golf industry is very, very democratic. Everybody has a say. Everybody has a vote. Sometimes it stops you from making hard decisions quickly because of the democracy of the decision involved, and the breadth of the discussion that has to happen before that discussion gets made.
With demand up, does that correlate to increased revenue? I know with you know the reports that you've got, Jeff, has been around the competition rounds, and clubs tend not to track every round. You know, and that's from a commercial perspective. We've always trained on every single round is where the real indicator is. The blend of those rounds, extra dollars. But if competition rounds are up, you know, that doesn't necessarily equate to increase in revenue. I know Tony made a comment on that earlier, just regarding they're playing more, but they're still paying basically the same fee. Is it a time to look at rate increases? I know it's not as easy of a decision with different constitutions, or it has to go to a vote. And but other places, if you have high demand, you're too busy, you know, you're probably not charging enough. You have an opportunity to bump it up, especially at the public access ones. I don't know your thoughts, Kurt. Yeah, you've got to.
Yeah, look, I'm definitely of the belief that we need to have a fluid model, so that, you know, your weekend prices should be a lot higher than what your weekday prices are. So, and, you know, your late afternoon prices, as we all know, golf courses late afternoon are fairly quiet. So we need to have a fluid model there so that we can get bums on seats, so to speak, there. So, yeah, look, I guess they're my thoughts on green fee prices and what have you. Sunday morning play, that should be a peak price, you know, and Saturday morning play should be a peak price outside of your competition rounds, I guess. So, yeah, definitely.
I mean,
where there's lots of consumer choice, you typically constraining what you can do with price, because the consumer's got lots of options.
Yes.
And the breadth of supply, or the availability of tee times everywhere, prohibits you from creating any leverage. But where supply dries up, and you get a better balance of supply and demand, that's what every other industry does.
Yes.
Its price is where those two intersect at a level that makes sense to the business. So I had this discussion with the GM in Brisbane the other day, and we talked about public pricing and member average pricing, considering member frequency, and their public pricing was materially lower than their average member cost, because the member price point had attention each year, but the public green fees has been largely left untouched. So the whole business has got out of whack. So he's probably leaving a lot of money on the table in terms of the dearth of tee times available in the Brisbane market, but being offered at a price that's materially lower on a cost to play basis versus what the members paying. So if the point I tried to make in the back of the cup article was where member frequency is increasing, I think there's a stronger story more than ever to support fee growth, because the story can become about the average cost to play. If the average cost to play was decreasing because of increased frequency, the goal of growing fees is to maintain an average cost to play, because with cost to play comes added costs around particularly course maintenance. And if you're only making a small margin on the competition fee, small margin in F&B, small margin in retail, as the point you made at the top, Mike, is increased frequency doesn't necessarily lead to increased profit, which is ultimately what we all need to improve the facility. It doesn't come from anywhere else.
My thought, just
sorry, John, from David Lawlem at Wyong. We've now moved to maximizing yields through green fees. Prior to COVID, T-sheet capacity compression has never really allowed this. The scale of economies has shifted to golf clubs, not the customer. Now they're looking at dynamic pricing across all the tees and members. I mean, every rate, it's a whole RevPAR, every rate, the right time, right person, what you can charge, what you can. It doesn't always work at every type of facility. But it's good to hear that type of conversation going. So that's not something that you hear much about in our industry down here, which the US market it's all about RevPAR, revenue per available round, and you drive every single round as hard as you can.
I mean, what Wyong is doing is what we'd all love to be able to do, but we've been prohibited because of this supply demand imbalance. But where maybe it's now in better balance, it gives you the opportunity to create that leverage. Look at parts of the day, and peaks and troughs and premiums, and start to actually adjust your pricing based on where demand is at. But if you've got too much supply, then you are prohibited from making material change.
The data is now the most valuable asset on the planet, and I think that's where most clubs need to address any shortcomings. There are technologies now, people using the MyScore app, like seeing, the usage of MyScore as a digital score submission during COVID. Some of the, I know Warwick, Royal Melbourne were part of the development of that. So the top courses in the country are showing 85, 90% of scores being submitted digitally. That allows you to track so many aspects of when people are playing and how often and how long it takes them. And, we talk about changing membership models and structures. The first step, I think, should be to know where your gaps are, know where you're falling short in course utilization on a weekly basis, and then adapt. And you need to be, I think OnPin have got the Verify technology now, which is being used in a number of clubs, and MSL will have things coming. So it's collecting the data and being able to understand it and then apply it is central to everything. I think we've been happy to sort of take whatever's walk through the door on a day-to-day basis and look at the T-sheet at 5 a.m. and see what's coming, but we can't make any meaningful change until we know where the change can be made. So that's the thing that I've kind of talked, Headland on the sunny coast, they introduced the MyScore app prior to COVID. and they saw it was a 10% take up, and then a 20, and then a 30. It was growing prior to lockdown. And last Thursday, 2 weeks ago, they had 2 people not submit their scores digitally. That's where we start. Let's join the digital age and arm yourself with the knowledge to institute change that won't be greeted negatively, but will fit in with people, and because you'll understand where they're falling short. So that's been my big take the last 3 months, of the clubs that have accepted that data is the way to better manage their business and understand that that's a way to make their members happier.
Look, we were ones that used jumped on with my score on the free trial, and now the club's taken up the yearly package, and it's been fantastic for our memberships. And the cost of printing cards is significant year in, so we've actually saved money that way. But we just need to keep advancing. So it's been good.
Great. Hey, Warwick, did you have you have some comments? I saw you off and on. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just got a phone call about rugby, but
we still play that?
well, yeah, you kind of. No, a guy wanting to get some All Blacks on at Royal Sydney, and I said no chance. I mean, I'm not sure everybody knows, Mike, but we operate a public facility called Sandy, and we've just been going through a whole redevelopment of that facility. It's also a public driving range, which is something we haven't operated previously. So we're really looking forward to that coming on stream at the end of November. We also go into dynamic pricing, and it's obviously data driven. So the dynamic pricing model is, I think we can learn a lot from the airline industry, and we'll toe dip it first, and then we'll evolve it out. But certainly around yield management, for my mind, learning from that industry makes a whole lot of sense, because they've been in that space for a long time. There's no question we saw an explosion. I mean, we opened our timesheets at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night after being told during the day by the Premier that we could go back to golf. We sold 700 rounds in 8 minutes at Sandy, and it's just full all the time. Which is a bit of a problem when you're trying to finish off the grind. But
I tried to book a tea time yesterday, Warwick. I couldn't get one for 2 weeks.
No, it's just it's an incredible resurgence, and I guess anecdotally, though, what I wanted to say was that it's not just the regulars. I mean, we're seeing 25 to 30% of new customers we've never seen. So the return to golfer is a phenomenon. So people who parked the game and gave up, who are now back and enjoying. And certainly, I think, Jeff, I was interested in your 20 to 44-year-old numbers. We're seeing that clearly, because there's no other real safe option in terms of contact sports not happening in Victoria yet. So. Yes. We were really encouraged by that number, and so I'm hoping to learn more and more about dynamic pricing and how to make the most of that as we go through that evolution, which will be the first quarter of next year. So.
The point GA is going to make in a few weeks about demand and new member retention is the challenge going forward is going to be about the strength of retention. That's going to be the measure. In the member domain, it's going to be about retention of the new demand. In a market that's in 2021 is going to be more competitive than it was in 2020. So that pressure for some will start in December, because if you joined on a pro rata annual fee early this year and a number of clubs turn over on 1 January, then a bunch in 1 April and a bunch on 1 July. In the next 8 months, we're literally going to have to retain. The challenge will be to retain all this new demand where we've got. So there's a lot to be done in a short time frame to ensure we don't let this pass through our fingers.
Mm.
So it's probably never been harder at the coalface. Collect the data, analyze the data, make some good decisions with it. So it's probably a challenge for everybody in terms of what do we track, how do we track it efficiently, and what do we learn from it. So for many who haven't had the need to get into the weeds in terms of some of the sub-layers of information, now they're going to be wanting to making decisions about the sub-layer. Well, the only way you do that is if you've got the data to defend. Otherwise, you're making a guess. So there's going to be, I think, increased pressure on some of the software providers to provide better formatted information. Otherwise, we'll all be extracting things out to Excel and building our own spreadsheets to track information. Boards should be asking for more information around not just the number, but who are they, what's the mix, so we can actually make an informed decision about that cohort should we decide it is an opportunity for us. So I think that, it's never been, to Tony's point earlier, it's never been more important to be collecting it and understanding the story. What Golf Australia is trying to do is tell you, here's the national story. How does it relate to your story? And hopefully it encourages the coalface to say, gee, I wonder what my story is in that cohort. I wonder if I'm different to them. Because we've all got our own stories. If they can share with you the national one and the state stories, the stories by gender, the stories by age at the national level, then the challenge being put back to the coalface is to say, right, we want you to know your own story, because we know with better information, we'll all make better decisions.
That's a great point, Jeff, on the whole the segmentation and just understanding our consumer, be it the member or be it the casual player, and profiling them and sending them the relevant information that's important to them, and not just the mass emails that we tend to see out there in clubland. We always tend to center back on members and being having more members, and with some on here, I mean that's the core of your business, but there's the non-member, the non-player, non-GA database people that we really want to get to, and that's where the growth of our game is going to come as well, not just the retention side. I guess to Tony or Kurt is how do we are we always looking to get someone as a member, or just get them to play more often? It doesn't necessarily have to be a membership.
Yeah, look, I'll just jump in here. And I guess for any GMs out there, they're listening. I'm a contractor here at Brighton Lakes, and my contract, one of my incentives in my contract is new members. So if I sign up a new member, I do get a percentage of that fee. And having just done a performance review with my club, they're rapt at our engagement and the opportunity to sign up new members. So for any GMs out there who are wanting to, I guess, improve the performance of their golf pro, I can only encourage them to look at new member engagement from a club professional point of view, and then you could even take it further. Not only new member engagement, but continuous member engagement moving forward. So, once again, talking about. Now, did I talk about incentivization before in relation to my team members, or was that pre-meeting that we had the chat?
Just pre going live.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm doing with my team is, obviously I'm a contractor, so I am incentivized, but my whole team is just about to be incentivized. So they'll get their base salary or their base wage, but part of what I'm doing with my team is incentivizing them in terms of retail, golf carts, green fees. And having already had the conversation with my team, I can already see the increased buy-in from my team. Like I've already got a really good, strong team here as it is, but adding that extra incentive, I could see that they've lifted a little bit. So, I'm incentivized, so why aren't they? And that's one new thing that I'm doing with my company here to ensure that we continue to push and grow and improve all aspects of our operation.
There's no doubt some of these things are going to be hard for some, because we're talking about now some concepts that are historically have rarely been talked about in the golf space. It's increasing commercialization of what you of the business. It's understanding the subsegments to the layers of demand. It really is making sure you're covering all your bases in terms of your product. You know, look, the PGA certainly has a role to play here in education. GMs have a key role to play in terms of education of their board members, but the opportunity will slip through our hands if we just keep looking at as a one source benefit. This is a benefit available from multiple channels, and to understand and to optimize those channels, we need to be getting into those specific areas to understand their value or their future value. It's going to be a new skill for many. It's a new thought process. It's another layer beyond where the industry has traditionally gone. So look, as exciting as it is, I have no doubt it's very daunting with the number going, God, we've got all this stuff, all this information. What do I do? What do I do with it all? How do I make sense of it all? How do I make a decision from it? And for many, it'll be a resourcing issue because they're just trying to keep the doors open and keep the customer happy, let alone thinking about tomorrow. But this opportunity, it will be determined how early you do think about tomorrow.
Yeah, great, Jay. I know we'll start winding on down here in a second. Carrying on from Warwick's point on the airline industry and the hotel industry. Yeah, Daniel's mentioned one about, I guess, about T-sheet management. And it's something we haven't really probably touched on now. We can, Kurt's the only one on the ground, as well as David. But every tee time's four people, so 4 seats. Yeah, are we maximizing? Are we doing all the proper pairings and intervals and all that type of stuff? In the States, when I left the California market, we were doing 120,000 rounds at some of our public facilities, but that wasn't foursomes, that was 5-somes, and that was every 70 or 80 9-holders on the back 9. I mean, we were packing the place up with every little tee slot that was available was $1. So if you had a threesome going out, you've lost X amount of dollars. So what's your thoughts? I mean, every club's going to be different, but what's the thoughts around that T-sheet management and that commercialization approach, i.e. hotels with RevPAR, or with revenues per available room, or with the golf industry being revenue per available round, and trying to maximize that? I mean, what's the backlash we're going to have from member clubs if we try to pair people up that don't want to be paired together?
I think that's part of the part of the service that on the front line in the pro shop that we have, because today's a classic example. Today's a Friday here, and we've got social play, but we've got members playing socially. And members, when they play socially here, there's not a green fee attached to it, but then we've got green fee players. So, on the front line, my team is instructed that when someone rings up to book in for a 2, we just courteously give them the courtesy, look, guys, letting you know you're a 2 there at the moment, but you will possibly be playing as a 4. Now, often we then get, oh no, we just want to play as a 2, and then we just need to have that explanation. Look, we're really busy here at the moment, and we certainly want you to have a game, but you can play as a 2, but you need to pay for those other 2 green fees, which is a hard conversation to have, but it's the conversation that you'd rather have it on the phone, because the alternative, you're going to fill those tee times anyway. So that's the conversation that we've been having. And it's also the conversation we're having with members here as well, that, see this as an opportunity to attract new players to your club. So, and probably just another thing that we've just done here, we're a 1 to 18 hole golf course, and we were starting our tee times on weekends at 6:30 a.m., but we've just gone back to 6 a.m. Why? Because there's a half-hour window where the sun's up. If the sun's up, bums up. So let's get them out on the golf course. So you've got to keep looking at doing things, and I'm just about to put forward to our committee here about having a Sunday 9-hole junior competition. 6 till 7. We've just put junior tees in. So once again, that time where there's no one on the back 9 on a Sunday morning, let's get them out there playing 5, 6, 7 holes. and really engage with the future of the club, which is ultimately juniors.
Can I just say, Mike, I guess to your point earlier about engaging members and non-members and how you get that balance, I think it's as simple as give everyone who walks through the door a great experience. You know, learn something new about the person who walks through the door, whether they've been there 25 years or they've never been there before. I think it's how social players will become members if they enjoy their experience and see value in what you're offering. You know, we can get complicated and the data will determine, you know, the type of memberships we offer, but people will choose to join a golf club or continue to be a member of a golf club if they're enjoying the experience. So, you know, that should be at the heart of everything as well. It's just everyone who walks through the door has a great day and a great experience and leaves feeling good about it.
Yeah, I think at that point with when you get a blend of members and non-members and corporate days, you know, that's where it could be a train wreck, or if the culture of the club is educated in that, you know, the non-member player is very important to keeping dues down and, you know, keeping the service levels and all that in place. We were up at Noosa Springs over the weekend, and, you know, members came over and had a chat and wondered where we were from, and, you know, we're very, very cordial because they're used to having external play on that facility. Gone to other places, and if you're not a member, they look down at you. So there is that cultural part of it that we need to come to terms with in educating. And I think Kurt, you probably you feel more like a public access facility. Your members are a lot more open to external play. You know, they understand that importance.
Oh, well, as you said, it is an education, and like another thing, I'm just increasing my team here now, but I'm actually going to have one of my team members actually at the front door to greet them as they come in, you know, to welcome them. So you've got one behind the counter, but one at the front door, and that's a role that I was just playing this morning, you know, welcoming them in, you know, and just hosting. You know, I talk a lot to my team about hosting. Like we had a group out here this morning of 12 guys. They've never played here before. I did know a couple of the guys, and I actually went out there and gave them the welcome to Brighton Lakes. I gave them the introduction about, you know, the facility and where it's come from and where it's going. And then I delivered them a dozen balls. I said, look, guys, here's a dozen balls. I want you to use these for your nearest the pin competition. Now, I was very deliberate in doing that because I want them to come back. You know, there was 12 guys, 12 green fee players, 6 golf carts. They're going upstairs to have lunch and have a few drinks after it. So once again, making sure that you know, that first opportunity we have for a new customer, geez, we've got to make it a good one, because if it's not a good one, then they'll choose to go elsewhere.
Oh, Mike, you're muted.
Get out elsewhere. Sorry, Tony. Sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say I couldn't hear you.
You've had what happened to me.
Oh, no.
There we go.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tony. Yeah, it's probably those 12 people would have had that they all have friends all on social media, and you know, they're going to tell friends, and they're getting that plus 1% that Tony mentioned earlier of what they're not expecting, just a little bit more than what they're expecting. They're going to go, wow, this is great. And, you know, we still need to have a good product out there, being the golf course. But those extra things is where the real battlefield is now with competition. You know, it'll give them something that you can't get somewhere else.
Mike, I'd be interested to hear, I know Dave Lullum's on the call, I'd be interested to hear from Dave, and I know he's itching to speak as well, about, you know, the flattening of weekly demand, and can you flatten out the peaks and the troughs that you've typically had, take less pressure off your peak competition days, spread demand out, better optimize the 12 hours by 7 days of the week that you've got. Have you had any success, or do you think there's an opportunity for you in 2021 to try and flatten out the weekday more than you have historically been able to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So just sort of going back to when we went to 2 balls, we implemented competition play 7 days a week. And we were, I guess, through winter, we were putting through full field every day from sort of 6:45 through to 3:30. 180, 200 rounds a day just in a 2-ball. When we're allowed to go to 4 balls, we decided to keep 7-day competitions. Our competitions, just in comparison to last year, as an average, have gone from sort of 600 or 700 competition rounds a week to sort of upwards of 1,400 a week. So clearly our members have definitely learnt to play on, to get out of their habit and avoid playing a Wednesday comp, or they're now playing a Monday afternoon, or the blue collar member, they come in 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and tee off and play 18 holes now, and then in the same breath, the white collar guys are sort of coming in 6:30 in the morning, finish by 10:30 and go home and do a day's work there. So it's been, the member plays really increased. We've gone from pre-COVID having about just over 900 members, and probably at the end of this month, we're going to close membership with about 1,100 members, just because we're getting the compression on the T-sheet with member play. Whilst that's all great, that is creating other issues with social play, because we now find ourselves not having enough tee time for social play. And I guess there's an argument that social play brings more money, particularly for a venue like us. We're a registered club. We're quite big in gaming, social events, raffles and things like that. So the social member spends on a per person a lot more. So I mentioned that in one of the texts or the messages there before about capturing yields, but for us it expends not just in the green fee and selling an extra card or thing, it extends into the clubhouse, food and beverage. And whilst we don't encourage gaming, we want every 4-ball to go and put $20 in the pokies, because that only helps our cause for what we are. So there's a lot of positive things happening, but it has created some other compression issues in other areas that we didn't see coming. And I'm sure every venue's got a story to tell that they couldn't predict where we are now from where we were 6 months ago.
So initially you had space, you filled the space, you flattened demand, and now you're full.
Yes.
You're full 7 days a week now. So now you've got a supply demand problem in terms of, well, the lever you have available to you is price. It's how you want to play that card that's going to determine the mix of your demand going forward. But you've rightly pointed out that there's one cohort there that has probably added value to you. So you're right, David, to be thinking about how do we make sure this is not all just about golf. It's about the bit afterwards as well. If we don't get them for the golf, we're not going to get the bit afterwards. So look, it's certainly a great position or a good discussion to be having, because it lets you start to tweak the little wheels. You kind of moved the big wheel. We've got the demand to where we want it to be. Now we've just got to make the little adjustments here and there to get the business fine-tuned. So I think for many, there's some fun times ahead for 2021, and some of the smaller decisions you can make and measure the outcomes and understand what little achievements you can make in terms of the windows of opportunity that you've now got. Royal Melbourne and Sandringham have got the same opportunity in terms of what they can achieve out of the new asset that they are creating. Public golf has always had for some reason a lower price proposition than member golf, but where it's full, I guess the question to be asked is, well, how much profit do we want to make? If we don't want to make much, well, we keep our prices low. If we want to make more and reinvest and make the whole facility better, well, then that's the lever you have available to you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just to sort of follow on from that, one of our priorities is membership is pretty much at capacity now. And for us, a challenge is, we've picked up in the last 6 months 200 odd members. Some of it's been COVID related and some of it's been for some other factors. But our challenge now is to make sure we hold on to those members and essentially remain full, because when we remain full, that drives our price up.
Yeah.
So that's our challenge ahead.
And it lets you plan with a bit of certainty going forward. You can predict, or you can forecast your 2021 income with a bit more certainty than if you were to see a lot of attrition happen, and therefore you can make plans of what you think you're going to have with more certainty than, well, we might, if we have this money, we could do this, but now you can be more certain about what the future might look like, which is, again, it's important for you to communicate to your membership and say, this is the journey we're going on, this is our vision, get on board, this is where we're going, which supports whatever decision you might make around price as well.
Yeah,
That's right.
right. Thanks, Jans. It's amazing how fast time goes. We're after the hour, but just in the final comments from the panelists. Fast forwarding, 6 months from now, we're heading into, at the moment, the southern states have the daylight savings. You got the benefit of, not the extra hour, the daylight sort of at the tail end. You're going to be able to have that. That capacity that you have, you'll be able to have them playing at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and still getting 18 holes in. 6 months from now, we start going the other way. 4 months from now, when the day gets shorter in lights, you're at full capacity. What's going to happen? I mean, how do we handle that where we can't get our members out now? At the moment we can, but down the line we can't. So any thoughts, just parting shots on that, I guess, parting comments, Tony?
Yeah, I'll just, I guess, point to, the way Kurt's handled things at Brighton Lakes, in that communication's everything. If you clearly state to your customer, whether it's a member or a guest, of the position the business is in and how you're operating, and, that, you might have to sit next to someone you don't like on the plane. It doesn't worry Jetstar. But, if you communicate that, again, it adds to the experience. They know they're not trying to hide anything. So yeah, obviously people aren't shocked when daylight saving ends. Everyone knows when the days get shorter and there's less tea times and winter is upon us. Unfortunately, we can't play at 4:30 a.m. up here in Queensland, but I think communication's key. Whether it's communicating to your members that we need to allow, Thursday afternoon for social play, or we need to restrict you to 3 rounds a week, to be upfront about it, communicate that, and it'll save a whole lot of hassle at the end of it.
Yeah, Kurt?
Yeah, look, I've always been of the belief that you've just got to keep on improving and looking at all aspects of your business. And I guess that's one thing I've always done well is, look at ways in which we can improve. And I guess personally, my job here is to improve all aspects of play. So I keep on telling people, watch the things that we're going to be doing here, because we're going to be innovators and we're going to be doing things that haven't been done in the golf industry. So watch your space, watch our Facebook page, because you're going to see some things that are going on here that have never been done before. So, and I think that's the mindset that we all need to take. We all need to have, how can we engage? What can we do differently? I guess, what does our facility have that other facilities don't have? And how can we, I guess, showcase that benefit? Because every facility is different. Everything's got a positive. So for instance, one of our positives here is that it's a very safe golf course. There's a lot of tree line, but there's a lot of holes that are, you're playing a hole and there's, you can't see another hole, so I play that out. I say, look, it's one of the safest golf courses in Sydney. So, but other courses, you could go to a little course like Karela and say, look, they've got an advantage. They've got a hilly 9 and a flat 9, which is a good way to learn how to play golf. So you've just got to look at what you have and how you can showcase that to not only the members, but to the public.
Great. Well, Jeff, do you want to wrap it all up?
I
I guess my thoughts around capacity, just this whole airline, analogy, you only get so many people on a plane on any given day. And if we're at 1,100 or 1,000 members and that they're all staying local, they're not traveling, you haven't lost that 20-30% of your members traveling at any given time or away. And we're going to have those capacity issues and more service issues down the line.
I think in 6 months' time or going forward, there's always been a lot of focus on the playing of the game. I think increasingly breadth of use of facilities is as much as also the practice facilities. If you can't play, and this is maybe a winter solution, is with less daylight, is I'm enjoying the facility, but in another way, or the range might be lit. There might be extra nighttime options, putting green under lights. You want just that engagement that keeps them moving through the seasonal cycles that we have. Should the daylight element, so crucial to the traditional playing of the game, be less available than summer. So increased use of practice facilities, flattening out the demand. The 9-hole events, I think, have a role to play going forward, because it's not always about the traditional 18-hole putt round. Those pockets of the week which have previously been difficult spaces or really quiet spaces might suddenly become a bit more attractive, and then you start to develop your hospitality offer around that. The whole use of the facility could lift just through more predictable demand, because then you can staff better behind predictable demand levels.
Right. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll probably wrap up this topic, the official episode number 7 of GICTV. But I'll leave it open if anybody that's on here wants to just have an open chat with anybody on here. Just any other questions that we may not have covered. Happy to do so. But thanks very much. And next week we got episode number 8, which will be around what Kurt was talking around, that incentivizing the golf professional, and incentivizing the golf manager or the person in charge of growing the game, and looking at some of the remuneration structures that are in place. And it sounds like we're in Australia is finally moving into a more commercial mindset in a few areas of our business, which is great to hear. But thanks everyone. Thanks Tony, Jeff, and Kurt. Appreciate your time and your insights. I'll go ahead and stop the recording now, and then anybody wants to have a question or chat with anybody in here, just unmute, and we can have an informal discussion. But thanks everybody.
Thanks
guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks, guys.